Good evening and welcome. This meeting's being televised by Chelmsford Telemedia. If there's anyone present who is recording or planning to record this meeting, would you please indicate so at this time? I don't see anyone, so that's that. Okay, we have several items on the consent agenda. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of April 26th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of April 26, 2016.
Second?
Second.
Motion made. Any problems with those minutes? I don't think what to say. No? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any abstention or negative vote? No. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for the regular meeting of May 3rd.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 3rd, 2016.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any comments about that meeting? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposition or abstention?
Abstain.
None. Okay.
Abstain.
Okay, John's abstaining on that one. Okay, I'll entertain a motion for policy subcommittee meeting of May 5th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the policy subcommittee meeting minutes of May 5th, 2016.
Second, please.
I think you're the only one who can second.
Okay, I'll second that. Any discussion on that? Well, it wouldn't be, this is two of us.
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay. All in favor, aye?
Aye. Abstain.
Abstain.
Abstained.
Okay.
3 abstentions.
3 abstentions. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular school meeting minutes of May 9th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the regular school committee meeting minutes of May 9th, 2016.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any abstention or negative vote? None, unanimous. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of May 11th.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting on Wednesday, May 11th, 2016.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any negative vote or abstention? None, unanimous. Okay. This is the time for the school committee to hear public input. If you come up to address us, would you please give us your name and address for the record? Anyone like to address the committee at this time?
Good evening.
Name and address.
I'm George Simonian, 6 Overlook Drive, Chelmsford, Mass.
Terry McSheehy, 15 Twist Road, North Chelmsford, Mass.
Welcome.
The Chelmsford High School Alumni Association is very pleased to announce its 18th annual awards night. It will be held on Tuesday night, the 24th, next week, of May at 7:30 p.m. in the Carl Rondina Performing Arts Center at Chelmsford High School. The Alumni Association is also proud to announce that awards will be presented to worthy Chelmsford High School seniors and alumni. This year, the total monetary value of the awards exceed $51,000. In fact, to date, the Alumni Association has presented, including this year, 1,556 awards totaling well over $700,000. But who's counting? That's a lot of giving back. We are very proud of our Chelmsford High School, there's a couple right here, and of the scholars it produces. With me tonight is the president of the association, Terry McSheehy, and he will be announcing and presenting the awards that night. Hope to see all of you there, either helping or in the audience. Okay? Questions?
Will you forgive me that I can't be there? I have a conflict.
You're
Please.
forgiven.
Thank you. I have a council of schools
He
meeting.
did, I did.
There are only 4 meetings a year, and it
Yes.
happens that this is one.
That's fine. There are a lot of people with conflicts that night.
I have been in other years, sir.
I know.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
I know.
I know you
We
stopped my
appreciate- and we-
driveway.
And we appreciate that. Any questions?
It's a fun evening,
It is.
and Terry rips them through.
Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
listening.
Thank you very much.
Good.
Have a good meeting.
Thanks a
See you next
lot.
week.
Thanks for coming.
You bet.
Would anyone else like to address the committee at this time? Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. How could I miss you, Ben?
I know, no longer as felt as I used to be. My name's Ben Cole, 82 Brick Hill Road. I'm here out today as president of the Chelmsford Teachers Union. This should only take 3 minutes. And I'm actually here to ask for your help with the situation that is in the town's hands. 3 weeks ago, an elementary Chelmsford school teacher recorded that the temperature was below 50 degrees in her room. She recorded this for 4 days. She sent reports to the town's school dude, the computer software program that goes to the public facilities manager. This system is meant to streamline reports of mechanical faults that interfere with children's learning, and get them fixed more properly. This week, I was informed that School Dude's no longer the proper channel, although no teachers have ever received anything to the contrary. Even though she reported this for 4 days, nothing was done about temperatures at one point that were below 49. And not just for 15 minutes, but for the entire day. Nothing happened. The teacher then called me. I then called the superintendent of schools, Dr. Lang. Superintendent of schools called the public facilities manager, and then lo and behold, someone from Johnson Controls came out to check the problem. He identified the problem, and for once it wasn't a mechanical issue, meaning a problem with the thermostats from the building to the town. But a week passed, and the 7 and 8-year-old students were still trying to learn in a room where the temperature had never got above 58 degrees. This was 2 weeks ago. And that is just one example that demonstrates the lack of concern that the town, not the school department, has for our students' well-being. Pre-K students at the Westland schools are in a room that is 86 degrees one day, 53 the next. At the high school, a teacher has recorded and reported temperatures below 58 degrees for over 2 years. The teacher was told she would be given quilted shades, a heater as soon as possible, and even though that was said back in November, the only thing that's been introduced are ceiling fans, which make the room cooler so she doesn't put them on. There's no heater and the shades have yet to be ordered. I'm going to keep this under 3 minutes. Teachers at the Parker Middle School have been reporting frigid temperatures. Our superintendent has requested data from the town. I wish I could say this was all hyperbole, but it's not. We've been told to wear layers for 2 years. We've been told by the facilities manager how the system is supposed to work. We're a patient lot, and elementary school teachers, in particular, are a very patient lot. They're made from the same cloth as Mother Teresa. This treatment interferes with education. Regardless of what you think of teachers, these are kids that have to live in these conditions. The town handles the heating for the school buildings. It should not fall on Dr. Lang to have to call the facilities manager. It shouldn't be the union president's issue. When someone puts in a complaint, the complaint is registered, the complaint should be fixed. To quote Bill Belichick, do your job. And again, these are our children's learning conditions. I'm requesting your help, members of the school committee, the entire educational committee, to hold those accountable, hold those who should be accountable. In Article 14 of our contract, it states that employee facilities should be maintained in a safe and serviceable manner. Common sense states that children should not have to learn in a room that's below 50 degrees. And again, that was an exception, but below 60 degrees. OSHA recommends that a serviceable temperature control should be between 68 and 76 degrees. However, again, this situation should not require litigation. It shouldn't require grievances. We have a public facilities manager. We spent a lot of money on ventilation systems. We don't need to be told to wear more layers. We don't need to be told how a system works or how it should work or how the virtual temperature in a building off of Billerica Road, how a virtual temperature system on Billerica Road says a room is 72 degrees when the real temperature recorded is 59. We just want the system fixed. So I'm here to ask for your help. And I'm hoping that the town hears us, because our children deserve better. All right? Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Yep.
I would just comment briefly that Mr. Igny, Scar, and myself, and the superintendent have been meeting monthly about facilities, going to the different schools, and we've been made aware of the various situations. We've been provided with a variety of documentation, and so we'll continue to work on it, but we have been aware and we have been trying to address things, so thank you. Would anyone else like to address the committee? All right. Student representatives.
Good evening, everyone. We have a lot of good news today. For the theater, for the CHS Theater Guild, we have 36 Tammy nominations, and that's amazing. So, for the best overall production for The Sound of Music and The Robber Bridegroom. For Best Actress is for Gabby Hugler, who portrayed Maria in The Sound of Music. For Best Supporting Actor, Jake Wetmore for Little Harp, and Michael Xavier for Clement Musgrove for The Robber Bridegroom. Best Supporting Actress for Sydney Barron for Salome from The Robber Bridegroom. And also for Nadia Lashoto, who played Mother Abbess in The Sound of Music. Best Chorus / Ensemble for The Sound of Music and The Robber Bridegroom. Best Featured Ensemble, The Von Trapp Children from The Sound of Music. Best Director, Lauren Cochran from The Sound of Music. And also Dale Ballantyne for Robber Bridegroom. Best Musical Director, Miss Amanda Rader, The Sound of Music. And also for Sabrina Lambros for The Robber Bridegroom. Best Student Orchestra for The Sound of Music and The Robber Bridegroom. Best Choreographer for Ethan Andrews, Mia Kelly, and Justine Long for The Robber Bridegroom. Best Production Number, The Lonely Goatherd, The Sound of Music. The Best Stage Crew, The Sound of Music. Best Scene Design, The Sound of Music and The Robber Bridegroom. Best Lighting Design, The Sound of Music and The Robber Bridegroom. Best Sound is for both as well. Best Costumes, The Sound of Music. Best Props and Set Dressings, The Sound of Music and The Robber Bridegroom. And they both received the Best Hair and Makeup nomination as well. Best Playbill, The Sound of Music. Best Lobby Display, The Sound of Music. The Rising Star Award for Lily Rogers, who played Gretel in The Sound of Music. Not Your Average Chorus Member for Alex Stever for The Sound of Music. And also for Nadia Lashoto on The Robber Bridegroom. And this was an amazing, these two are amazing plays. And especially The Robber Bridegroom, which was on a couple weeks ago, right?
It was, I want to say a week from last weekend.
Yeah. So that was great, and congratulations to all the kids and adults that received the nominations. So on the 18th, which is tomorrow, we have a very special ceremony at our Performing Arts Center, and we will be dedicating that Performing Arts Center to Mr. Carl Rondina, who was my chorus director for the past, for my freshman and sophomore year. And this dedication will begin at 5 o'clock tomorrow. And following that will be the Pops concert, which is the annual concert for the Chelmsford Music Department. and there'll be a lot of ensembles that will be participating, and it's a great concert. Everyone looks forward to it, and we have a lot of fun. And the Chelmsford Friends of Music also gives out scholarships that night as well. So I hope you guys can all attend. Next week is, this week is a senior's last week, so that's pretty exciting, and we will have finals next week. The Tri-M Music Society is the music society that we have at Chelmsford High School. We'll be having a Panera fundraiser this Thursday, so if you guys are looking for flyers, we'll be posting that on the website if possible, so hope you guys can attend. It'll raise a lot of money for our music department. The Gallagher benefit concert is May 20th. Hope you guys can all attend that as well. And also, this isn't related to music, but the math and science clubs are going on a field trip with the math director, Mr. Matthew Baranovan, and we will be engaging in activities and challenges with Amazon and other companies, and I'm looking forward to that.
So we have more good news. Lots of good news at the high school. So the student awards will take place this Thursday, the 19th at 7 o'clock, followed next week by the Alumni Scholarship Awards and the 23rd Town of Chelmsford Scholarship Night. Along with going with the awards, the World Language and National Honors Business Induction happened this week, which was really exciting to see all those kids that have worked so hard and everything that they've done. 24-hour relay is this weekend, which will be really fun. It's a really big fundraiser, and it's so much fun for all of the kids to just kind of hang out with your friends and walk for 24 hours, although none of us actually make it. The mock accident took place last Friday, which was really kind of eye-opening for a lot of kids, especially as a junior. It was my first time seeing it. It was really kind of touched home seeing my friends being in the accident, which was followed by cotillion on Saturday, which was really, really fun. It was a lot of hard work. We were there until, I want to say 11 on Friday night. AP tests are done, which means a lot to all of us who have been studying non-stop. Senior finals are next week, and MCAS is this week. And the junior class will be attending a college fair field trip very soon. Next week is the prom fashion show at the senior center. So I want to say 15 seniors will be showing off their prom dresses for the day program at 10:30, so all of you are welcome to join us. For sports, all spring teams are on their way to making the tournament, so that's really exciting. And I would like to recognize Kristen Hohenstein and Walker Horton, who kind of did something amazing. At the Andover Boosters meet 2 Saturdays ago, they both broke school records, both in the 400 hurdles. Both came in first for their race, and they raced in the same lane.
Wow.
So it was a really lucky day. Cam Kaminsky is Jake. Yeah, Cam. Okay, I've been with them for like how many years now? 6 years, and I still cannot tell you two apart. Yeah. I'm sorry. He is doing his Eagle Scout project, making an amphitheater in the science pond, which we're all really excited because we don't really get to go out there very much. No. It's kind of dirty and cold.
And sciencey.
And sciencey, yeah. The Science Organization Club came in first with their wind turbines at a competition, and 5th for geologic mapping, which I have no idea what that is. And the mentoring process has begun, so mentors have been chosen, and there will be a meeting for the seniors, for the incoming seniors, to choose the board. And move-up day for Parker will be on June 13th, and McCarthy move-up day will be on June 16th. So we're really excited to get the incoming freshmen and kind of get going next year. We'll be sad to see you guys go.
I have a question about the finals for seniors. Not that my son doesn't talk to me. But do you have to show up for finals if you have a grade above an 85? I'm hearing you don't. Not that he has a grade above an 85. Just curious.
I don't think you have to, but you have to talk to your teacher to see if you have a certain number of tardies, and if you have too many tardies.
That he would have.
Yeah, I have to check as well, but I think for some electives you might have to show up, but for other classes I think you're exempt. I think I'll have to show up for some of my electives, but other than that, I think we're all set.
Monty, where will you be next year?
WPI.
Good for you.
Thanks for asking.
Ozzy, on behalf of the school committee, we want to take the opportunity tonight to thank you for your service to us. You've been very loyal, and you always do a great job in filling us in on what's going on. So on behalf of the committee, I'd like to give a little gift for you.
Thank you. Well, that's very sweet. Thank you.
You can take your nameplate as well.
This?
That's yours. Unless there's someone else named Muncie, Doug. Then we want it back.
No.
It's yours.
Oh, it's really yours. Take it. Yeah. One more picture, thank you.
That's awesome.
Exciting! Wow.
How
Here's
nice.
my award. It says Monty Dunkey, student representative, and it's from 2014 to 2016. So
Congratulations.
That's great.
thank you so much.
Chelmsford's really establishing a toehold at Worcester Polytech. We've been sending quite a few kids there the last couple of years, so I'm sure you'll do well and represent us well as everybody else has. So,
Thank you so much.
all right, that's the good news.
Yeah, I don't know if I can beat that, but that's okay. I
A
just
lot
wanted
going
to,
on.
didn't know it was so good. There's just a couple of events that are coming up for art and music that I'd like to highlight at the middle and elementary schools. So the art shows are coming up at the elementary level. So for Byam Elementary, it's May 24th. Center Elementary, May 26th. Harrington Elementary, May 25th. And South Row Elementary will be May 26th as well. At the Parker Middle School, they'll be having their concert, their music concert, on the 26th at 7 p.m. That will be at the Performing Arts Center. And McCarthy's chorus concert will be May 25th as well. Also, I'd like to highlight that Byam Elementary School is having the annual Byam Walkathon, and they're having their Byam Family Night at Fenway Park on the 24th. That's it for good news.
Very good. I'd just like to take this opportunity to thank Rabbi Shoshana Perry and the Congregation Shalom for the event that took place Sunday afternoon. They hosted members of the Muslim community, and the whole event was to show the parallels between the two different religious groups, and it was a big crowd, and it was really interesting. So I'd like to thank both of those communities for including some of us. Okay, Mr. Superintendent.
All right, thank you. The first item on the agenda this evening under new business is a presentation from Laurie McDermott, and the Reading English Language Learner in Title I coordinator for the district. So I would invite Laurie and her colleagues up. And you know we can slide chairs right in as well, so.
Everything on hold.
We should have moved to them.
You can sit at the microphone, you don't have to use it.
This place is empty out.
First of all, I want to thank you for inviting us here tonight. I was excited when I heard Dr. Lang talk about how we were incorporating departments into the school committee meetings, because I think we have a lot to share. And as you can see, I kind of put it out there that people could come if they wanted to, and I'm thrilled to see all of this support. I think it might have helped that I'm doing the talking. They're still here, and I'm very, very grateful. So I'm going to quickly introduce them. So first we have Catherine Lowe, who is our one of our ELL teachers who actually goes above and beyond to go all over the place. She's stationed at Byam, but she helps out at McCarthy and Harrington and Center, and quite frankly, wherever I need her. Alessandra Huguette is at Center School full-time plus, Andrea Marmo, same thing at Harrington for ELL. And then we have Katie Gregory is a Title I interventionist. I'm going to explain all of this in the presentation. And she is at Center School. Behind Katie, I have Ann Craig, who is at South Row as a K-1 reading teacher. And then next to Ann, I have Beth Haywood, who is a Title I reading interventionist at Harrington. And then I have Divya Lalwani, who is a math interventionist at Byam Elementary School. Here I have Kathy Day, who is a K-1 reading specialist at Byam. Next to Kathy, I have her partner in crime, Jane Blumberg, who is the 2 to 4 reading specialist at Byam. Here we have Rebecca Magnuson, who is the 5-6 reading specialist at Parker. And then Marion Smith, who is my right-hand woman at the high school. And then I have Kathleen Wright, who is a reading interventionist at Byam School. So we have, I'm thrilled to see that we do have representation from every department. So that's really great. Okay, so I know we don't have all night. And honestly, each one of these topics could be its own night. So I'm going to kind of give you an overview, and then I figure you guys can lead me in the direction that you want me to go based on your questions. So I'm going to start with elementary reading support. So obviously part of my job is also the K4 ELA coordinator. I didn't include that in this presentation just because I know you've heard from the elementary principals, and again, that's another whole night. But what we have is an elementary reading support program that really supports all of the schools. We have 2 reading specialists, certified reading specialists in each building. One is mostly dedicated to K and first grade. They will support, other students as needed, but the main focus is K-1. And then we have one who's devoted to students in grades 2 through 4. Again, always willing to help out if time allows in other areas. This is personally an exciting program for me because when I started at South Row School in 1996, we didn't have K-1 reading specialists. So once you were failing reading or you couldn't read in 2nd grade, you got picked up for support. So after a few years, the Title I intervention program began, and that's when they put in the K-1 reading specialist. So they were initially a Title I supported program. As our Title I funds fell back over the years that I was at South Row, different schools kind of fell out of Title I, and the district absorbed, and it became part of the operating budget. So I'm very, very grateful to have both of these reading specialists because the whole idea is to really catch them early in K and 1. So we try to really swoop in and see as many students as we can early on, and hopefully that number, and it is, decreasing through the grades. We see a few less in 2nd grade, less in 3rd, less in 4th, and all the way through. These people have an incredible amount of work to do. Not only do they provide direct support to students all day long, but they are instructional leaders in the building, as well as the ELL specialists, same thing. They are real support for teachers. They're providing professional development. They are my go-to people for data. They run 3 instructional data meetings a year where they sit with grade levels, review all of our assessment data, talk about appropriate interventions, supports, focused, targeted instruction. So incredibly important. In terms of student selection, we start with a universal screening, assessing all of the students in reading. From there, the reading specialists can pull anyone who shows, any flag for being at risk for reading delay. So we do some additional assessments, like an authentic reading assessment. We use something called the Fountas-Pinnell benchmark assessment system. It's basically when we just listen to a child read a leveled text. We score their accuracy, their fluency, along with their ability to understand that level of text. From there, there's many assessments: phonemic awareness, seeing how they're playing with sounds and words, letter recognition, spelling assessments, phonics. The list kind of goes on, and it's very dependent upon what we're seeing with the student. So it's not always the same for every student. We might need to go a little further with others, and not as far with some others. The goal is always to get the students out of the program, right? We want to fix them up as soon as we can. So we're constantly reevaluating, does this student need our support? And that's where the relationship with the teacher, I think, is so important. So often the reading specialist, they don't make these decisions in isolation by any means. They will talk to the teacher, and, lots of times it's let's give this a try. And if, try these few things. Sometimes there's even some scaffolded support they offer along the way. Maybe I know at Byam they do like this rolling little book club to make sure the students are still getting books going home that are at their level. So there's lots of ways to make sure, and they continue to check in all along, and students are always welcome back if necessary. Questions about elementary reading support, or do we want to wait?
I just want to, if you could raise your hand if you're a reading support specialist at the elementary, so we can just see.
Raise it high.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so we have 2 in each building.
And how many kids are supported this way?
Yeah, so it definitely depends on the school, but there's usually a good 30, 40, upwards of close to sometimes 70 students that
Per
can.
grade?
No, per school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So around, some schools, I know, like, say, Harrington, for example, she could have 30 students at grade 1.
I see. So it's 70 in K and 1, or K through 4? K through 4.
K through 4. Around, what would you say? It definitely varies for school. It could be higher. I feel like Harrington, typically we have some more students. Center, we might have some more students.
Right.
South Row is a smaller school, so I feel like that's not probably an accurate number for South Row, a little bit smaller.
Right.
And it definitely varies from year to year.
And it's gonna be kind
Yeah.
of cyclical or
Sure. Yep.
up and down.
That's a good question, though. Okay. So with Title I, I've changed up the grant. It's only my second year in this position, so I feel like I'm still working with the grant and figuring out what's best through our needs assessment and talking to the principals. This year, our grant was much larger than usual, so it pretty much doubled from last year. And the whole very complicated formula that I wouldn't pretend to understand, but I can tell you that once you go above 5% poverty level, you're able to receive funds from different funding streams. If you're below 5%, you're more limited, so you tend to not get as much money. So we felt as a district that but we really wanted to put more interventionists into the elementary schools to provide even more support. And one of the areas that came out of this was math, which is not my area. So we did implement a math intervention program as well as a reading intervention program. With Title I, we are a targeted assistance program, and that means that students must qualify for support. So we're not a school-wide assistance program, so we really have to make sure that we have data. We put them through a weighted criteria, and we determine a cutoff, and we have to show that data to the state. So it's not for the whole school. It's very targeted.
So are you floating around? Do you go?
Me?
Well, Ann
floating.
is at South Road. Does Ann travel to other schools? No.
No. So we put in a Title. So Harrington School, we put in 2 Title I reading interventionists, in addition to the 2 reading specialists, and
Got
2
it.
math.
Got it.
At South Row, we have 1 math, 1 reading, Byam 1 math, 1 reading, and Center 1 math, 1 reading. I should also tell you that Byam actually did not qualify for Title I legally this year, so I begged or petitioned the state for a waiver, And they approved the waiver because if you looked at the numbers, they were just so close, and I know they need help. So luckily, they approved the waiver, and I'm very happy that I feel like we have like a nice, full elementary intervention program. We didn't have to leave a school out, so.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, it was great. I was happy that they approved it. Okay, so in terms of Title I reading intervention, the reading interventionists are there for 4 days a week, paid through the grant. It's all through the grant. All of the materials for the program were paid through the grant, and all of the professional development that they received to get them up and running and ready for this task was also paid through the grant. The sessions run anywhere from 20 to 45 minutes based on the need of the student's schedule, how, what other services that student might be getting. We try to keep the groups small, 5 or fewer. Is that still relatively true? And we keep students grouped with other students from the grade level. And this typically happens outside of the classroom. The elementary principals were great in finding space for these people. We all know space is an issue. We have some nice setups in some hallways, but they are inviting, believe it or not. And these interventionists, who again are paid hourly, have gone above and beyond to make these spaces really kid-friendly. I do know that some interventionists will go into the classroom as well, again, depending upon the need of the student. Title I reading?
A couple of things. When you say that the assistance is it follows the kid rather than the school or the district.
The Title I interventionist?
Yeah, it's kid targeted, right?
Targeted assistance program, yep.
Right, it's dependent on the kid. So the kid is the qualification, not the number of them in a school?
Right, yes. So with we can allocate a certain amount of funds to the school, and then we assess all of the students to see who qualifies. So basically, I can't just say, I want to service Becky because, I know her mom, and she has to qualify. Becky has to show that she needs help.
Are you looking at the changes with ESSA, changing either the distribution or the amount that you're going to get?
Very much so.
Are there what is the big stuff on the horizon? Are we going to see a decline in money? Are we going to see it change in the way it's determined?
Okay. So hoping we weren't going to go down this road so soon. Yes. So I have been notified. There's a very good chance that how it's been explained to me, I said early on, I don't necessarily understand all of this, but we're teetering on that 5% line. And so my Title I manager called and said, I just want to give you a heads up. It does look like you could go back. And what that would mean is we would, the grant would get cut in half. I'm trying to be optimistic. He said it's not guaranteed, but it is a possibility.
The Title I eligibility is just determined by household income, or are there other
free and
factors?
Reduced lunch.
It's strictly free and reduced lunch.
And it's
and the new counting system that the state has gone to, is that affecting us, or are we so small that it's not?
Not really. So what's nice about the grant is you can choose.
Right.
It's a drop down, so you get to decide which one you want to use, and I just tend to go with the one that obviously
works best.
That works for us. And it still typically is free and reduced lunch.
Okay.
It has been for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's so important, and this is a good place to get this out there. It is so important to fill out that paperwork, for families who qualify for that.
We probably need to do a better job of outreach on that as a district.
I agree.
Also about the breakout space, are you always in hallways? Are there places where you've got some classroom space and some
Harrington, we have some nice space. Really, you can probably guess we're in hallways at South Row.
Right.
Every place else, Byam, we're struggling a little bit. We were doing some room
Byam's
sharing.
tight,
Yeah. But I have to say, everybody has been so supportive in terms of teachers opening up small spaces in their room to invite others in. It's really been good.
But it's harder in a small classroom to open up a corner.
Oh, yes.
Well, I think as we go through this comprehensive facility survey, that's one of the things we need to make sure doesn't fall through the cracks. Even though it's not a full classroom, we need space to deliver these services.
We do. And there's a good chance next year is the Title I program review. so they will come visit.
Yeah,
And I'm sure they're
they're
going
not
to
gonna
cite
wanna
us on
see
that.
us in the
They're not going to
hall.
like us in the hall. They'll
Okay.
like that it's cute, but they won't like us in the hall.
But will they pony up with some money to help us?
That would be good.
Yeah,
Probably not.
okay, because we could use, a few pods or something.
They'll tell us to fix it.
18.
Yeah, 18.
Okay, so in, basically, the math, we're working on it. We need a math universal screener. This is in order to qualify the students this year, we use the math benchmark assessment that we administer at the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. And that helped, but we really need a universal screener. We're also using data from the unit assessments and teacher recommendation, and this is all very legal through Title I. I run everything by the grants manager at Title I before I do it, and, that is fine. I would feel better if we had a math universal screener so that we would know that we were reaching everyone.
This is a person or a thing?
The person, a real live person that I call. Is that what you mean?
No,
The
screener.
screener is a thing.
It's a thing.
The grant manager's a person.
A universal screener, you may have heard of Dibbles.
No. There's a teacher in the high school
Yeah.
named Matt Dibble.
Right, I know who you mean. So
Yeah,
a universal screener is an assessment, a real quick dipstick that is administered to the entire school, and it's normed. So you get data, and it shows you who's at risk for certain, in reading, at risk for reading delay or for comprehension difficulties or what have you. We don't have that currently for math. We have some in place for reading.
We have all these reading people here.
Yeah.
If we had that screener, would we have another room full of math people here? I'm just curious.
You mean to say that we need more math support?
Yes.
Come on, honest.
As the reading interventionist,
Yes.
I would say that you would. The math interventionists do a great job, and they do that. But I think, coming from a reading perspective, you have that universal screening, and you have those norms kind of already in place because you're building upon what already is a reading program. In Chelmsford, you don't necessarily have a math. You have your math person on the elementary level, whose name I can't remember, but I see her. We share our space when she comes in and does her math assessments. But you don't necessarily have a math person in every building.
Right.
So because of that, it's a growing year in getting that done. And not all of, I know our math specialist, she doesn't live in town. She's another half an hour, 20 minutes away, but she does a fantastic job bringing stuff home and making sure that she's there early to make sure that her things are in place and aligning with the Common Core standards and making sure she's supporting those grade levels who are doing the MCAS, especially in third grade.
Question goes to the focus that we're giving to reading for Title I, but I would assume that math is also a Title I program.
It is.
And we don't seem to be maybe addressing that as.
Right. I would agree. Yeah. And we're trying. This was our first stab at it. Since I've been in Chelmsford, it's always been a Title I reading program. This is the very first year in my 21 years here that we've had math support through Title I. So I do, and with the cutback in the grant, I don't know what our needs will determine.
So there's a cost associated with it? With this
Universal
thing?
screener.
With the universal screener?
Oh, the universal screener, yes, it does cost. We are looking at something called Ames Web potentially for next year, and we're hoping to pilot that. So I think we're moving in the right direction. Yeah, there is a cost.
Are you going to share the cost? I'm just curious what the...
Sure, we think it's somewhere between $8 and $10 per student. However, it would include math and reading.
So to replace the Dibbles.
It would replace the Dibbles, yeah.
And what are we paying for that?
The Dibbles is mostly free, except you pay $1 per student for the data warehouse.
But is that only reading?
But it's only reading.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that I'm
And
trying
we-
to
and
double the
frankly,
population.
we don't love it.
But it seems like we should know that when we're doing our facilities assessment, that this program should be in our system.
This is why I was so excited that you invited us here.
Well, if we had known, Lori, you would have been invited a lot sooner.
So yes, I know math is the focus. Does that mean that I won't be the Title I director?
Still Title I director.
Okay, well,
Nice try.
one can hope. No.
Good hustle.
Is that a month? Is that a monthly cost or is that an annual?
Annual.
It's like $700.
No.
No,
Per student?
per student and all, so there's what?
Seven.
It would be,
3,100 students at the elementary level?
yeah.
Okay.
And my hope would be that this would, when I'll get into this too, will go K-8.
Oh.
Which is a wonderful segue into middle school reading support.
Anytime, there you go.
Okay? So at the middle school level, we do not have math support now. We're moving back to reading. We have 2 reading specialists in each middle school for 5th and 6th and 7th and 8th. So one is dedicated to 5-6, one is dedicated to 7-8. This year is our first year implementing something called the Leveled Literacy Intervention System, which is a program that's basically designed to provide intensive reading instruction so that students can quickly come up to grade level. What I was seeing when I came in, we were doing a lot of supporting the classroom, which is wonderful, but if we're always supporting students at a level of text that is too high for them, we're not really closing the gap. So we decided to try this, and we're loving it. It's going really well. I'm excited to see, we've seen a lot of progress. I'm excited to see the end of year data, to see how it compares to the beginning of the year data. But the kids are loving it. It's real high interest nonfiction and fiction text, 60% nonfiction, 40% fiction. And it's really written to appeal to the struggling reader at that age level. So the kids just love it. I can't say enough about
Some
it.
really interesting
Yes.
titles, and in particular, they seem to enjoy the nonfiction versus the fiction. It's just,
Yeah.
it's fun. They love it.
It is really fun.
And I like it, and I've learned a lot.
So in speaking, yeah, you do learn a lot
I've learned a
about
lot of
interesting facts. Yeah. The other thing I would like to move toward in the future, and Linda and I have been talking a lot about this, is getting the universal screener all the way through grade 8, so that we can continue to monitor these kids reading right through middle school, because we all know that in middle school we are still teaching children how to read. They are not done. Right? You remember. And then our reading support program goes all the way up to the high school, where we have Marion, and we offer 3-4 classes at the high school. Our reading support, what I refer to as the reading support, is the reading for high school class. And basically any student who is in English, recommended for English 9, takes reading for high school and writing for high school. And Stephanie Quinn probably touched on this a little bit as well. And basically what Mrs. Smith does is she takes their content area textbooks and teaches them how to annotate, how to extract the important information. It's super helpful. I love that they get it right out of the gate so that they're up and running. Students do really well in that class. Then we notice that while they're doing well in that nonfiction, it's very concrete. Some of these kids still weren't really adept at understanding a novel, a chapter book. So we've started recommending students for the reading skills and strategies, which is an elective, but we know some students who could benefit from that. So we've made that recommendation to guidance counselors so that we can kind of target the right kids for that class. And that uses, high interest novels and just teaches them how to, analyze character and how to infer, determine theme, all of that stuff.
So you're seeing spectrum issues.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, the inability to be empathetic, perhaps, or factual-based information is attractive to some.
Well, it's right there, sure.
You don't
Yep.
have to analyze the nuances of it.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yep. And then we have a young adult lit 1 and 2, which is just a fun reading class for high school kids who still love to read. Marion works all summer to find and read real high interest, current contemporary literature, and she usually goes right off of the young adult lit best books of the year list. So kids usually love that class. Okay, now I'm going to move into our ELL program. We have 6 certified ELL teachers in the district. We have 1 at each elementary school. I have 1 who splits between the 2 middle schools, which is not enough. And then I have 1 at the high school. This program has changed so much since I've been in Chelmsford. We originally had ESL tutors, people who were not certified. I'm not sure what the qualifications for that job were, but it was pretty loose. The state has really, thankfully, kind of cleaning up the program and setting parameters and lots of guidelines for us to work through, but it is in the best interest of our students, and it's certainly, I feel, in the best interest for Chelmsford because we are a growing ELL population. This is some data I have from the last 10 years. And you can see in 2006 we had about 50 L's. L's, it's English language learners. And to date we have somewhere around 150. These numbers are constantly changing because students do come in and out of the program, and there's also, can be a transient population. At the elementary schools, we have about 30 students.
A little higher.
Yeah, a little higher. What do you, about 30? Yeah. Yeah, a little over 30. And then Byam, we have about half of that, which is why we're able to use Catherine to help out at some other schools. Now, the thing about that is, 1 ELL student who comes into the district who is a level 1 or a newcomer requires up to 2 to 3 periods. They used to say 2.5 hours a day. They've changed it to 2 to 3 periods a day of instruction, in a period not being any less than 45 minutes. So 1 newcomer at Byam can kind of throw the whole thing off.
The whole weekly schedule.
Right. So we still feel understaffed in terms of ELL, and I just submitted the self-assessment for the ELL program review today, and we will, be cited for that as well. Although I am very proud of us. I feel like we're moving forward. We're definitely making strides in the right direction. Once a district has a population of more than 100 ELL students, we are awarded the opportunity to apply for the Title III grant. This is a grant that is allocated to provide professional development for teachers of ELLs, promote family engagement events. We've used it to provide instructional day tutoring. For example, we added a tutor at McCarthy Middle School to service students in addition. So we always have that supplement, same thing with Title I, the supplement versus supplant law, where I can hire a tutor through the Title III grant to add additional support, but they cannot take the place of the support that the district should be providing. So what's been great about having this tutor at McCarthy is that she can help the lower students, the lower level students in their content area classes, which has been great. And so they still come out for their ESL instruction. We've also used this grant to provide extended day tutoring. Our ELL teachers have been wonderful about working with students after school, one-on-one, small groups, and we have a wonderful summer program that we've also put out to all of the families of our ELL students, and that was a really successful program last summer, pretty big, that we held at the high school. So that is a very small grant. It's about, I want to say 22,000 and some, not very much. But we use every penny.
How much money have you received in grants so far?
Title I is $317,000 this year, and then the Title III is $22,000. Okay, so I think this slide is super powerful. When we think about ELL students, and I go to lots and lots of workshops, you hear Spanish, 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 Spanish. And we have roughly about 35 languages in our Chelmsford schools. So we have a really diverse population. You can see some of these languages. I just learned there was a language called Tigrinya. I did not know that. So I love that we have such a diverse population. Some of our more popular languages are Arabic, Khmer, and of course Spanish. In our elementary programs, we use the REACH ESL program. This is a requirement from the state that we have a separate curriculum for our ESL students. So we're not allowed to just sort of go in and support the general education curriculum. They really wanted the ESL students to receive direct instruction related to the Common Core as well as the WIDA standards. So what we do is similar to our reading model. Any student that is registered in Chelmsford completes a home language survey. If there is any other language on that home language survey other than English, then they meet with one of our ESL teachers and they administer some kind of a screening assessment, whether it be something called the model or the WIDA Access Placement Test, so that we can determine their language proficiency level, whether they're a level 1, just learning English or no English at all the way up to a level 5 or 6, where they may not even qualify. Sometimes a student might come to us from another district, and we can just look at their access test scores and determine whether they need services or not. We notify parents, and then parents always have the right to opt out. We try to keep that as under wraps as we possibly can, because we really don't want them to opt out, but we do have to inform them that it is their right. Once they opt out, it is still our responsibility to monitor their progress. So the ESL teachers work closely with the classroom teachers, and they also are still expected to take the access test test, and we still monitor their scores as well. And we wouldn't be afraid to call a parent and say, we know you opted out last year, but we are seeing that your student is not making the progress that we would like to see. We'd love to invite them back. Please come in, we can show you some data, that sort of thing, and sometimes that works.
So these lessons are distinct from the standard classroom lesson.
Yeah.
How do they get delivered? In the classroom alongside other kids? Are they broken out at all?
Yep. So we mostly use a pull-out program. So they come to a classroom for ESL instruction, and there is a little bit of classroom support that goes on, but it's mostly pull-out, and they tend to be with students who are sometimes at their grade level, and within their English language proficiency level. We don't want obviously a level 1 with a level 4. So
you're only pulling them out during the reading parts of the day?
That's the hope. We would hope that they're coming out. The state would like them to only be coming out during language arts during their reading time.
But I mean, if they don't understand English well enough to do well in English, how are they going to understand it well enough to do well in math?
Right. So it's hard. Yeah. It's definitely hard. But the thought is that we need to teach them academic language, right? So that the ESL teachers are pulling them out to ensure that they're learning English so that they can access academic.
The other.
Yeah, other content areas.
Yeah, okay.
But teachers feel the same way.
Sure.
How can they? You guys can certainly chime in. Some students, we have some newcomers at the high school who are doing so well in math and science. I can think of one high school student who's doing great in science because the science at that time was all very, very much math-based, and he kind of got that. Once it got a little more language-based, he struggled. But the ESL teacher has been great about trying to, help streamline that for him. Anything else you guys want to add about that in terms of the instruction? It's definitely
a challenge.
It's a challenge. It is.
We really try not to take the kids out of math classes because sometimes the kids come with math school skills from other countries, from their first language, and sometimes they can
really pick up a lot because they have this background knowledge in math, and so actually the state does not want us taking them out of math classes, so we try, really, we don't take them out of math, and we don't take them out of specialists either. The state doesn't want us to do that, because that's the time when the kids can interact with their peers without as much academic language.
Okay.
I just have a question about the retail course.
Yes.
Talk to a lot of teachers, I hear a lot of celebrating, I'm finally through with this class.
Yeah.
Does every teacher have to take the retail course?
Yes.
Every teacher.
For their certification. Every content area teacher has to take the retail course in order to be recertified.
Even if we don't have a population over 100?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tied to their certification.
And this is a mandate from
the state.
The state, but they're in response to a mandate from the federal government to close this gap.
Justice.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
And those strategies too also could be incorporated into that math as well. The teachers are taught specific strategies to utilize in the classroom to make those accommodations in conjunction with conferring with the ELL teacher. I just finished my course today.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. That's great.
So we are also developing the program in terms of communication, and just like I spoke about the reading specialists, the ESL teachers in the same light are meeting with teachers all the time, developing individual learning plans for students, sitting one-on-one with a teacher and explaining, your student is a level 2. This is what you can expect from them in listening, speaking, reading, and writing, and this is where you can go next with that student. Holding data meetings to try to work together. A lot of times a teacher might think, oh, this student really needs to be in special education, and the ESL teachers, it's crucial because they bring in so much information because they're really so connected to these kids in such a unique way where they understand their family background and they're able to share with the teacher, I know he's not doing well in math, but did you know that in that language the division sign doesn't even look like that? And the teacher will often go, oh, no, I didn't know that, so their role is enormous. I don't know where I would be without them. So.
And I just want to say that we do work very closely with the mainstream teachers, and I spent quite a bit of time explaining the reading program to the different grade levels, and they really appreciated that. And I also work closely with them to calibrate the writing scores so that we're on the same page. And I think that's very important. And this program is incredible. Lots of science. I know we're focused on language, but through teaching language, they've got all these different types of subjects that we do. And in 2 days, my students have created lots of different projects. And I'm going to have a science fair for the parents to come in and see all of the projects that they've done. It's going to be really exciting. I'm very happy. And I have most of the parents coming in, so I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, you should be. It's great. Thank you. Okay, so our program continues through the middle school, and the same publisher puts out the Inside ESL curriculum, which is content-based again. And we use this for our higher level students, and we will still use the REACH program for some of our lower level students, and especially our newcomers. There's a lot of really supportive materials. It's still a pull-out program. This is something I would love to change. Every meeting I go to, I talk about potentially changing this so that we can, I would like to see ESL at the middle school in its own dedicated class. So maybe a student wouldn't go to foreign language, they would go to English as their foreign language, so that we're not pulling them out. It's very, very challenging for the middle school teachers to have a student pulled out, because in middle school it is absolutely impossible to take them always out of ELA. So sometimes they're coming out of math, and we've really tried to work with the teachers because they said, please, how do I grade the student if you're taking them out every single time? So we've kind of struck some deals where we take them out, science one day and math another day, which we really try to stay away from, but the schedule is super tricky, and I wouldn't claim to know how challenging it would be to put this in as a class, but it is something that the principals are entertaining and trying to help me with.
When you pull them out, do you pull them out for an entire period or for 20 minutes of the whole class?
No, it's usually a 45-minute, 50-minute session. Yeah. So just to give you an idea, at our middle school program at McCarthy, I just wanted to highlight that we only have one teacher working at McCarthy and Parker. We do have Catherine Lowe, who is supporting, because we were short there, she jumped in and is supporting our students at McCarthy in 5th and 6th grade, which has been enormously helpful. A FLEP student, you see I have 8 FLEP/monitor, is a former language, as a student who was formerly in ESL, and they've graduated out. And those students are still, we are still responsible for those students for 2 years. So we still check in with those students. We're still monitoring their progress. There are 13 languages in McCarthy alone, and 11 at Parker. So I just thought that was interesting. It's such a, a small number of students, but yet so many languages. At the high school, we made some changes to get into compliance, and I think this has been amazing. Basically, we offer 4 classes: a beginning, an intermediate, an advanced, and a skills class. So the beginning class is just for our level 1s and 2s. Our intermediate is mostly for our level 3s, and then we have our advanced class where we use for our level 4s and 5s. The addition of the skills class has been great because students can come during that time, and the ESL teacher can help them on their other, it's like an additional option in their other classes. So that's been very popular for the students, and she schedules them accordingly based on their needs. It's been the easiest place to keep us into compliance because it's dedicated classes and it's not a pullout.
Right.
So these kids are getting a lot of instruction, and it's been great. One of the things I want to highlight from the high school is the international luncheon. Amanda Sullivan, who is the ESL teacher there, changed this so that she formed a club called the Melting Pot, and these students work after school, not during instructional time, which how it kind of had been, to plan this, and their families came, and it's a very well-attended event, not as well-attended as it would have been had I told Dr. Hirsch, sorry, in central office.
I'm over it now.
It was awesome.
Yeah. I will do better.
It was
I'm
really
over it
good.
now. I've only gone
Better
every
at
year,
that.
that's fine.
But it's just the work that went into it. I was
You couldn't have gone.
just
Jay was
floored.
out of
It's
town.
a really fun
You were
event. I have some upcoming events. We have in Title III potluck dinner coming up. So in addition to Sandra's curriculum celebration, we're going to do a potluck dinner for all of our ELL families, and we're holding that on May 26th at the McCarthy cafeteria. Maybe a little dinner and dancing, a party. And then we have a Title I event coming up at the library for our kindergarten and first grade students, where we're inviting them to the library, hoping that we can help the parents feel a little more comfortable at the library and get the kids to maybe get a library card and sign up for the summer reading program. We haven't had an event at the library in a very, very long time, many, many, many years that I can remember. I think I remember one. So I'm hoping that this will go well and we can get some families out.
There is a teacher who's involved in getting kids to sign up for library cards. They
Right.
give them incentive.
Yes.
She agreed to kiss a pig, so maybe, Lori, if you put that incentive out there,
Yeah.
that so many,
Kiss a pig?
yeah,
Okay. All right.
Your stuffed animal, right?
Yeah, I might have kissed worse, I don't know. I know this is long, I'm not gonna look at the time. Thank you so much for having us, and thank you to all of you for coming. I really appreciate you supporting our programs. And any questions left?
I just had a comment.
Sure.
So I was a child who struggled pretty mightily with math throughout my career, academic career, and I'm sure there were a lot of students like me in reading as well. So by the time I got to high school, my trajectory, I was way behind my peers, right? So an interventionist probably would have helped me a lot, and probably still could. So if you came to my house, you would see calculators everywhere because that's how I do math. But if you change one student's life, and if you really think about it, like how many students have you touched and helped along with either reading, math, or English language, how many of those kids maybe go to college and maybe do something different and feel more part of their peer group, right?
Yeah,
So I just want to say appreciate the work you do, and thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you. I would agree, they're amazing.
I have a question about reading support.
Yes.
First of all, I'm really glad that the kids are getting it. The question I have is that the numbers, are fairly substantial.
Yeah.
Has something changed?
Yes.
Okay, what's changed? I mean, well, I hate to admit
ahead.
this, but I'm so old, none of you would have been in my school.
No, I feel that way too. I feel it wasn't like this when I was learning to
I'm
read,
not
and I'm
trying to
very
be
grateful.
difficult at all, but people made it, and I'm really glad that, obviously, the support's needed. Well, what kinds of things do you attribute the change to?
The standards, the expectation of the increased level of complexity of text. It was okay for us to be able to read the words when we were kids, and I don't remember being called on to have many deep conversations about my understanding of a character or a theme, how a character changed over time, how a setting is developed in a story. I just don't remember having these conversations. And these conversations are expectations that are happening early. The overall rigor of our, just all the way through our curriculum, I think it's so important that our readers are strong in order to, the amount of reading has increased in all classes. It's a lot.
I think the diversity of the population. I mean, as people become more mobile and, feel more comfortable, just...
Well, do you think reading in the homes has gone down?
Yep. I think there's a lot less, I don't want to offend anybody, but there's a lot less conversation going on in the home. So it's so important, if anybody's watching, to put away the iPads and the phones. And one of the saddest things I saw when I was on my April vacation trip, we were in Turks and Caicos, a great family trip, and a man and a young child, maybe 3, came in and sat down next to us at breakfast. And we were all, my family, the 4 of us were sitting together, and we kind of took notice. The little girl was very cute. And I thought, oh, how neat. She's there with her dad, just her dad. And as he sat down, he got himself settled, and he handed her the iPad, and she went right to work. And I never heard a word exchanged. I don't think that's an intentional, that wasn't even a situation where the person waited for the child to actually need something, I think it's just becoming, my kids will even say, hey, we're going to the grocery store, can I bring my iPod? No. We need to talk. Language development and reading, all of that starts in the home, where you're sharing these conversations and developing vocabulary. Reading to your children and exposing them to higher level text that they can't access on their own, and developing their thinking about text.
I think a lot more people used to read to the kids
Yep.
before they went to bed or as they went to bed.
Well,
and when I've seen that done, it makes a huge difference.
it does make a huge difference, and we're busy. I'm in the thick of it right now. So, and I'm a reading teacher, and I will admit, we're busy. So it is important to have that in place and to have plans. If you have to bring the book in the car, if you've got one child at an event and you're tagging the other one along, have them bring the book instead of the iPad or whatever. But we have instituted some programs that are online. We do offer Raz Kids, which is a reading program that they can read right on the iPad. It's very popular. It is leveled text, and all elementary students have access to it, and even some students at the middle school. So at least then they're using it, and there are a lot of, I shouldn't, a lot of people are using it for instructional purposes for sure, but nothing can take the place of sitting with your parent and being read to, or talking about a text, or having a conversation. I agree.
I want to thank all of you for coming in to support your leader.
Isn't that nice?
And I'd also like to comment, I think John's comments were really great. I had the same wonderful math experience apparently that you had, so I would have loved the math support. But his comments were great, and I think you should take them to heart.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. They clean up after themselves. I mean, really.
So just as they're leaving too, just from my perspective, I get a tremendous amount out of these presentations when they come in. I think the amount of time that goes into preparing the slideshow and actually coming and presenting on topics is great for me. I can't imagine trying to cram these into smaller meetings or even just passing over things. So I think that I have enjoyed the new format this year, just getting to spend quality time with the different principals and then program directors. And I'm just kind of thinking to myself, what will it look like next year? Because they'll be able, now that we have a good understanding of each of the programs and departments, what level of detail can we get into in the next pass? So I've very much appreciated the presentations and the committee's willingness to really have this be a standing agenda item.
I think it's great for them to be able to get together. That's something that people outside of education might assume that they get together all the time. It's hard to get together, and I think the people from the different levels sort of reinforcing each other is really good.
Right.
All right.
All right, moving on to the second item of the evening. This is an agenda item, the net school spending agreement with the town of Chelmsford. So as way of background, each city and town in the state are required to have a written agreement that documents the chargebacks, both the cash contributions that come from the town in the way of the budget, and any of the indirect costs that actually get allocated to support of the schools. And I had met a few months ago, we started looking at this. There was an existing document that had been signed by the previous administrators in the district. Met with John Souza, who's here today, Darlene, Lou's here, the town accountant, Michelle, myself, and then actually Joanna in the last go-around, just to refine the document. This is something that from time to time we do need to bring before the school committee for approval. What this document will do is actually just detail all of those chargebacks and actual costs that will be allocated to the schools. When the outside auditors come in to audit our end of the year report, they look to this document to make sure that we're properly allocating and accounting for all of the cash and non-cash contributions that come from the town. So happy to answer any questions. Michelle as well, as I indicated, John is here. But we're basically seeking a motion from the school committee to agree to this document, and then if approved, I do have the copy that I'll pass around for us to sign. So this would be what would kind of delineate our expenditure reports for current fiscal 16, and then again, from time to time, as things change, we can bring this back before the board and the town staff for adjustments.
I have a couple of questions. Where exactly are these costs in our budget? It says these expenses can be, or the town can be reimbursed from the appropriate revolving fund or general fund school appropriation. But I don't see anything in the budget that's marked, for example, reimbursement for the payroll processing.
Well, that isn't one that they're reimbursed for. So what would end up happening, and again, John, you're more than welcome to come up and kind of have a conversation with us. The town would spend certain monies on general payroll processing, general services, say treasury, accounting, things like that for the school department. So they're actually spending it in their budget. They're just able to get credit for that expenditure.
So really what's happening, when it says 50% of the annual salary for the payroll administrator, that's not, $50,000 coming out of our appropriation and going back to the town. It's the town attributing 50% of what they pay to the payroll administrator to the schools for the purposes of calculating net school spending.
Correct.
Yes,
okay.
that's correct.
So it's basically paper transfers.
Yes. And the part that you were reading about, the town shall be reimbursed for the appropriate direct costs, what that refers to is back, when you think back to town meeting, when the budget was, the town-wide budget was adopted, there was a there's a line item under available funds for the child care program, so the health insurance, so that's something that's actually somewhere where dollars come out of a revolving
That does in fact
fund.
come out of a
Yes.
revolving fund.
But
child
most
care,
of
yes.
these charges are like what you described, just, it's more of a cost accounting thing for
Right.
DESI.
Okay.
Yeah, and again, as John said, 99% of this is a paper transaction, but you need to have the actual written agreement for the auditors to be able to compare the charges against, because they need to have something to audit. So they need to have an agreement to fall back on that just specifies what methodology you're going to use to actually be able to account for the town's expenditures that ultimately support education.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to accept the provisions as outlined.
I'll make the motion. I make a motion to accept the provisions as presented for the agreement between the town of Chelmsford and the Chelmsford Public Schools.
Second.
What was the second?
Second, yeah.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Any questions for John or anyone? Hearing none. We will vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or negative votes? Hearing none, unanimous.
John,
Thank you, John.
Thank you, John. You get to see a presentation tonight, too. Moving on to the third item on the agenda. We all set? Sorry. Moving on to the third item of the agenda this evening. This is the vote on the 2016-17 school choice program participation. So this is an annual vote that the committee needs to take to determine what level of school choice enrollment the district will receive. I prepared just a quick little memo that just describes the current allocation of students in the school department. Currently, there are 57 students attending Chelmsford Public Schools as school choice students. We do have 4 students who are graduating from the high school this year, which then is that little table on the first page of the memo, brings it down to 53 students who would actually be currently enrolled in school choice. And as you know, once you actually do enroll a student in school choice, they're able to stay right through graduation, so they don't have to be annually renewed. The district does need to decide whether it wants to entertain taking in additional students or not. And on the second page of the memo, this is something that I've been considering seriously, and I do have some apprehension, particularly at the elementary and the middle school level, in doing this, given the comprehensive facilities assessment that's ongoing in our changing demographic and changing enrollment, to not really expand this program beyond is currently the case. And I go on in the second paragraph. Although I don't want to expand it, our budget is also predicated on receiving some school choice funds, and we're anticipating some school choice funds to be able to provide us those cushions or be able to have some funding coming in to provide for some of the services we would like. So my ultimate recommendation is the 53 students who are in the district obviously will stay. We're graduating out 4 students at the high school in 12th grade. I would recommend accepting in 4 new students just at the 9th grade level. That is the one school that we know over the next number of years doesn't have an enrollment issue for the next 4 years, certainly. The high school could assume 4 additional students without impacting class size. And that would actually just level the amount of funding that's going to come to us in the district. Each student represents $5,000, so we're currently with 57 students receiving $285, and by just accepting 4 at the high school, we'd be accepting $285. So for the year, this would be the recommendation that I would make. I laid out a motion at the bottom of the second page after we discussed this for committee consideration that basically would just motion to accept 4 additional new students entering 9th grade at Chelmsford High School under the Commonwealth School Choice Program, bringing total participation to 57 for the coming school year. So that would be my recommendation. Happy to answer some questions and have a discussion with you on it. And this does need to be renewed every year, so we'll be discussing it annually.
So there are no program minimums, there's no penalty for limiting the amount of enrollment. It's just you get the $5,000 per student up to whatever you accept. Okay.
Yeah, it's totally voluntary whether the community actually wants to participate at all or not. Just now that we actually have accepted these, say the 53 students in, we do own them for the rest of their career until they either elect to leave on their own or graduate from the high school. What we control is new enrollments to the program, and you can actually specify specific grade levels in schools where you have those enrollments. Where I really do have apprehension with the elementary and the middle schools, just given our current work, there's no school to be designated for the high school. There's only one in the district, so I think allowing 4 students in, for the most part, assumes minimal risk. It keeps our funding level from year to year, and then it buys us a year to figure out really longer term where we want to go with the program. The other issue, when you do look at the grade level distribution in the chart on the first page, there's no grade level in the district that has higher than 11 students at any grade. Next year's 9th grade class would have 7, so by adding the 4, you go to the 11. So right across the board, you'd have 11 freshmen, 11 sophomores, and then it would dip to the seniors and juniors. So this really wouldn't have an impact on class size. That's the recommendation.
We are actually taking in more than 285,000 this year, right? Like 315, or is it more 340?
Well, we're going to get. You certainly can answer it. We're going to receive some additional funding for some of the special needs students that we do take in through school choice.
Right.
So,
and I guess that's my point. Do you have numbers of how many of these kids are out of district, IEP, and or like 504?
Yep, so the quick look, 504, no, I do not have.
Yeah.
And that would be more of just an accommodation.
But as accommodation, it tends not to be expensive.
There are currently 9 of our 57 students that are on IEPs in the district. So that's about 16% of the population. I think our SPED population district-wide is closer to 18, but it's in the ballpark, as far as that's concerned.
And they're sending districts provide additional funding, I believe, right? Over the 5,000 if the IEP is...
You know how we have to submit like a circuit breaker reimbursement for a SPED cost?
Is that the supplementary?
No, but you have to do a similar thing for school choice. So you actually have to go through and document all of your students, and then the DOE reviews that, and they give you an increment above the $5,000.
Which is why we're taking in more than 285,000 this time.
Right.
This year.
One of the... So just to answer all of your questions, so 9 out of the 57 are special needs. We don't have anyone currently in out-of-district placements.
Right.
We do, but again, if
they
a student
could
come to
grow
us,
in. You're right.
that
Once
could
we
happen,
own them,
right?
they could grow into that.
Yeah, and then if we decide as the district to place the student in an out-of-district placement, we're responsible for paying that tuition.
Right.
The sending district is responsible for the transportation piece, but we're responsible for the actual tuition cost. We do have one of the students is in an in-district special needs program. It's a higher cost program at Parker that we do a collaborative with NEC on. But we don't have any out of district right now.
Okay.
Again, my concern in really just opening this up and expanding the program too much is that you don't have control over the students that come in.
Right, there's no way. It's got to be a blind draw.
So we have 4, if we take this motion, we would have 4 students coming at the high school. We would advertise an enrollment period of a few weeks, just given the time. People are calling to check.
Right.
And if you receive 4 students, you take those 4 students. If you receive 6, then you have to do a blind lottery. You can't discriminate based on the program that the child needs, what his services are, if he's on an IEP, not an IEP. So the district does take on risk, and I think to minimize that risk, just keeping the level enrollment that we have for the year is relatively minimal. I wouldn't want to go, it gets risky. I wouldn't want to go much beyond that. And Michelle, you're certainly welcome to talk to any of the finance pieces.
No, I just wanted to add that the supplemental amount that we're looking to receive, I believe, is in the ballpark of $120,000 this year.
I make a motion to accept the 4 additional new students during the 9th grade at Chelmsford High School under the Commonwealth of Massachusetts School Choice Program, bringing the total number of school choice participation in the Chelmsford Public Schools to 57 enrolled students during the 2016-17 school year.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions or negative votes? Okay, before we proceed, I like the informal nature of the meetings that have been run. we really need to make a motion in a second first, because technically there is no discussion. You know, I don't want to get into a big thing about that, but it just makes it clear if we have the motion and then
a discussion.
Okay, Mr. Superintendent.
Thank you. The fourth item on the agenda this evening is a recommendation for an appointment to the position of Director of Business and Finance. You have a recommendation in front of you this evening to appoint Joanna Johnson Collins to serve as the next Director of Business and Finance. I left on your desks this evening a copy of the recommendation along with Joanna's resume. As you know, we posted for the position probably a month or so ago. We convened a review panel internally of myself, Michelle Cresta, Linda Hirsch, and then we asked John Souza and Darlene Lucia, because there's so much involvement with the town accountant and treasurer, to participate on that. We reviewed applicants and conducted a few interviews, and the group really feels strongly, and I obviously feel strongly bringing this recommendation to you for a number of reasons that Joanna is the correct person for that job. Joanna does come with more than 20 years of private sector experience in financial planning and analysis, as well as 6 years of school business experience in a public setting. As I go on to my second paragraph, one of the other considerations that we took pretty strongly into account is just the level of transition and the number of transitions that have happened in the district over the last couple of years, particularly in the business department. Joanna had come on board about 2.5 months ago in the business office in March, has worked closely with Michelle and the business office staff for the few months, has the advantage of also currently being there and being able to finish out the year and do a closing with Michelle, so the transition will be obviously much less significant than someone coming in from the outside. And she has just extensive experience with budget development, monitoring, reporting, general fund accounting, grant fund accounting, special revenue account funding, and accounting. And I'm happy to bring that recommendation for you today. As you know, this is a similar case with the special ed administrator a few weeks ago, where there are, in addition to the superintendent, you actually just outright hire. There are two positions that you need to support the recommendation on, the special ed administrator and then the school business official. So I bring that forward this evening. Joanna is actually here as well to say hello, and I'm sure happy to answer any questions. But I bring that forward this evening as a recommendation.
I'll entertain a motion to appoint Ms. Joanna M. Johnson Collins to serve as Director of Business and Finance.
Make a motion to approve and appoint Joanna Johnson Collins to serve as the Director of Business and Finance.
There's a second.
Second.
Any further any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? So, what happened?
I know, Mike.
I'm good.
Go ahead, just do it.
I saw you were a Northern Illinois Husky, so if you're a Husky, you must be good people. I think we're fine.
Okay.
Mike's a Midwesterner too, so.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or negative votes? Unanimous.
Could we ask Joanna just to...
Yes, would you please come up?
Absolutely.
Just introduce herself?
Yes. Welcome.
Thank you. I just wanted to thank the district for interviewing me and for being so kind and welcoming to me in my first couple months here. And I look forward to working with all of you and the leadership team and the teachers and do the best I can to support the families of Chelmsford and put the resources where they'll make the most impact for the students.
That's
Thank
great.
you very much.
I just wanted to make the comment, I'm good with voting for you. Just remember that I am the best at signing warrants.
Okay.
Yes. I've done it once, and I'm clearly the best at it. So,
How long did it take?
It took me a while. It took me a couple
How long
hours.
did it take you? Be on the
It
rotation
took me-
every other week now.
We'll talk about that. It took me a few hours, and I had to take ibuprofen. I was so focused.
Because you're so well qualified, we'll let you come every time.
That's what I said.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for being here
Thank you.
and being patient with us. All right.
I know how to read.
So we're on to 17, budget staffing considerations.
Thank you. Yes, I just needed to get a little sip of water there, tickle. Yeah, so this agenda item I actually just put on to have a discussion. We had begun talking at the last school committee meeting about the general status of the budget and where we are position-wise for next year. There's a little bit of a discussion about the coordinator positions, and we didn't really bring that to resolution. We wanted to have further dialogue. I did talk to Michelle going into our next meeting, and we're hoping at that meeting in June, because we actually, because of the way the calendar falls, we're off for 2 weeks, and we don't meet again until June 7th. So at that meeting on June 7th, we'll probably do some additional work on the budget, so that'll be a line item to be able to make tweaks and whatnot. But wanted to just have a discussion with regard to where we are staffing-wise today, and kind of have that discussion to see where committee members are. If there's additional information you might want for that meeting in June, I'm happy to provide that.
Do you think you'll have the actual line items finalized?
By the June meeting?
By the June meeting?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, as good as we're going to know without the state budget being approved.
Right. Right.
And there probably is going to need to be a supplemental vote sometime in July to just solidify things.
Right.
But I think we would like to bring forward the line item budget.
Did the Senate bring forward a budget today? I thought it was
They
today.
did. Yesterday.
Same kind of numbers?
It actually was a little, and Paul emailed me about this, it was a little bit better for the city and the schools in that particular budget. I haven't seen the latest cherry sheet, but just based on the amount of money that they put into Chapter 70, it was more than the House, and it was more than the Senate.
Wow.
We're not going to get too excited.
No,
but at least we know
every little bit helps.
It's going in the right direction,
Yeah.
as opposed to going the other way. So we'll certainly have some information on that. I believe their amendments are due tomorrow, and then the Senate's going to debate that next week. So we'll bring forward whatever we have on June 7th. I think we should at least go through and do some work on approving the line item budget. We'll need to make some tweaks
There
over
may
the
be
summer.
some changes, sure.
But we can do that at that point.
Well, I'll say I do think we should go ahead and post at least one of the coordinator positions. I think the basic criteria is that we want to improve what we have now. So I don't think we should commit to just hiring blindly, but I think now is the time of year to get a posting up, and see who's out there, see what the pool is. I think we ought to move forward on that sooner rather than later.
I'm not sure I'm comfortable posting a position we don't have funding for.
We do have funding for it. It's in
We would
it's in the
choose-
school choice.
And we would choose, which position do we choose to fund?
Well, personally, I think the science coordinator position is the area of need right now. I mean, do you have thoughts on, does it make sense to post two positions and only hire one? Should we pick one to post and then see what we get? My concern is that there's a window that's closing.
Right.
And if we don't do something now, we're going to find ourselves in July saying, oh, look, we did have the money and we don't have any person.
Or are we going to get candidates, I mean, we're not going to get the candidates who say they're maybe not committed to this. You know, it seems like a lot of risk.
You can't get if you don't ask. So, I mean, let's not close the door on ourselves.
Michael, educate me again. Why the science? One more time.
I think we have to start closing these coordinator positions out. And if we only have the funding for one, I think science is more important, largely because we're working through the implementation of the next generation science standards. There's a lot of additional work there that's already been completed in the math and ELA areas. And right now, I don't know of any standard changes going on in social studies.
I think my comment would be that, we all speak to a lot of parents, and the coordinator positions is a common theme. I think we don't have enough coordinators, not nearly enough coordinators, even the subjects we do have them. So I don't think people looking at the position will worry about our budget. They're going to see a position on School Spring, and they're probably going to apply, and maybe we find somebody qualified. If we have the money, we should try to get one of them filled. I actually agree.
And
with
if we
Mike.
don't like the people who apply, then we just don't hire.
Right.
I mean, I don't want to put ourselves in a corner where we have to spend money. I want to put ourselves in a corner where we can spend money to make the district stronger.
Mhm.
We have the money available, and I think we ought to go forward with it.
with your whole recommendation.
Then next year maybe address the second one.
Are we ever gonna have $200,000 sitting around that we don't have a use for? No, it's always gonna be tight. We have to start working at it.
I'd love to hear from Dr. Lang.
Okay, so a couple of just thoughts I would have is absolutely there is a need, and it's warranted to have a science coordinator. It's also warranted to have a separate English language arts coordinator. I don't think anyone disagrees, and I think the two individuals that are doing the dual roles right now would agree, and I think no one would be offended by moving in this particular direction, right? No one feels, because I think everyone feels the struggle. We'd had the discussion at the last meeting about possibly, if there was funding in school choice, allocating money for one position, not two. We would have had to have that discussion about the two. I'd be hesitant moving forward with two, certainly, because whatever position we actually fund, if we use that school choice set aside, we don't want to do something for a year and then have to backtrack if the money's not there the following year. So it is creating a little bit of a deficit in the budget, because we do want to carry this forward. So we'd either have to rely on the school choice funds every year or find a way to incorporate that into the budget for the following year, because I don't think anyone on this committee wants to reinstate, let's just for argument's sake, say the science coordinator, and then a year out have to cut it. So it would have to be something that we know we can sustain long-term. I don't know that we can commit to two positions at this point, the ELA and the science, because then you are talking about a $200,000 carrying cost from year over year. If push came to shove, and it's very difficult to say which is more important than the other. I mean, MCAS is a primary MCAS area, not MCAS.
Science.
Science, no, but
Oh,
the
it's
ELA, yes. Science is starting to, and you do have the new standards adoptions and whatnot. I think on the English front, we're probably, again, selfishly, a little bit better off, because that was Linda's department and background, and, she has that coverage. She works very closely with Stephanie on that. The science is probably the area that is a little more difficult to gauge. So if I had to just do one or the other, I would probably lean towards the science as well. I think it just comes down to that, it's the money piece. The other thing I did chat about a little bit earlier, we would have to look at the recall language, and that is a legitimate issue, because the two administrators that we laid off under their contract may potentially have recall rights to the job. So I do have a call into Andy, and I will, the attorney, I will hopefully hear back tomorrow. He was in hearings today, and he couldn't get back to me. But that could change the discussion of the dynamic as well, based on, I believe there's a 2-year callback period. This is going to be a question about when that 2 years is up. Is it when they were originally laid off? Is it at the end of last year? How that all comes into play. So I'd want to get you kind of a legal opinion about which direction to go in with that, because that would have to come into discussion as well. So there are still a couple of outstanding items, and, costs certainly, I personally would have a hard time recommending two, just because of the sustainability.
I have one, Dr. Lang.
Well,
one you feel very comfortable.
Here's the struggle. We absolutely need to reinstate these coordinator positions. There's nothing that says that we don't. If we do it and we utilize school choice money, then it's a competing interest. There's going to be something else we can't use school choice money for. It's going to be something we're going to have to fund the year later. I think this is what the committee needs to really think about and prioritize on. And that's the discussion that needs to happen.
Weren't we using school choice funds to fund the assistant business manager position?
No.
Okay.
The assistant business manager is funded through indirect costs, and then also offsets to community education.
Community ed.
Not school
Community
choice.
Well, I would suggest that we wait on this action until the superintendent comes back with the legal opinion from our attorney, so we have a picture of everything.
Would that prevent us, though, from tell me how that prevents us from adopting the mindset of moving forward on bringing back the science coordinator, sir?
You may have to offer it to the
Yeah,
person.
but either way, we're going to say we're bringing the position back. I think that's Michael's
Oh,
point.
just
Am I wrong,
put
Michael?
that vote forward, not to post it?
Well, no, the issue is this. If the attorney comes back, and I'm sorry this just isn't cut and dry, but if the attorney comes back and says, no, this is a recall issue, then you wouldn't even bother posting. If you
You'd go
want the
right to that.
position, that's the person. So then that would have to be the discussion.
So this is not a motion to
I
bring
think
the
you-
position back.
I think you need a legal opinion. I think you need to find out if recall comes into play or not, because that could inform your decision.
Right.
So for the next meeting, we would expect to have some kind of answer from Andy, from legal counsel.
Oh, yeah, we'll have an answer from Andy within a week or two. I think to Mike's concern, that waiting 3 weeks would be 3 weeks of lost time if this
Sure.
was going to be something that was entertained. A happy medium might be, I'm sure we're going to need to have a subcommittee meeting over the next week or so, even to review our positions with collective bargaining. We've got to do an update session with the committee. If I got a legal opinion, there's nothing preventing us from having a special meeting or just setting a special agenda to just bring that back and have the discussion so it could happen within a week as
Yeah.
opposed to 3 weeks. And that way people might not feel as rushed.
Just,
Right, you can't make a good decision without having all the facts. And the intent, again, is not to box ourselves in, but.
Mr. Chairman,
So,
can we make a motion to post a position pending a decision? Do we have to wait?
We should.
I would
yeah,
wait.
but
I would wait.
then you would get applications when there might not be an open.
Yeah, but if can't we do something to give him the approval if he gets an answer back in less than a week?
In all honesty, I would be more comfortable just waiting for the
All right.
opinion, because if I get it, I can email it out to you, and then we can meet next week and make a
Okay.
decision.
Okay.
I would be fine with that.
Okay.
And a week's not gonna hurt us.
No, I think a week is not the end of the world. Okay.
Is there anything else under this general topic that we need to bring up?
No, I just wanted to mention that we'd be, bringing forward the kind of line item budget on the 17th and, not the 17th, the 7th of
7th,
June,
yeah.
and having that follow-up discussion.
Okay.
All right. Sixth item on the agenda is the, just a proposed calendar. We had agreed to the calendar through the end of June, but as we look for the first half of the next year, I can't believe it's already the end of May. I had just kept with the same meeting schedule of the first and third Tuesdays of each month. But looking back, it looks like, and I am used to this as well, the two summer meetings, just meeting once in the summer, the third third Tuesday in July and the third Tuesday in August, kind of a summer schedule. And then just keeping with the first and third from September to December. I didn't want to go too deep into the year because we know once we hit January, the schedule got crazy with all the different events. So if we at least lock in for 6 months at a time, I think we're doing okay. So if this is working for people, and the committee would like this schedule, I can work with Debbie to have this posted and put it on our calendar.
Do you want a motion for that?
Sure. I guess we're going to do that, yeah.
You want to post it?
I apologize.
I'm always seconding.
I make a motion to approve the proposed school committee meeting calendar and schedule 2016, 2017. Would I have to incorporate the
No.
dates?
No.
Can I
As
just-
presented.
Yeah, right there.
As presented.
Yeah. Second.
Any further discussion on the dates?
Well, the only thing is, it looks a little light in the summer, quite frankly. I think we're gonna have to have more meetings than that. If we're gonna polish off this facilities review and get kindergarten up and running, there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
Right, but
That can be done on
facilities reviews don't necessarily take place on a Tuesday night at 7 PM.
No, but what I'm saying is that I think once that report gets delivered, I think we need to move fairly quickly. If that report is gonna suggest 3 or 4 alternatives, there's no reason to wait until September to start picking and choosing between those alternatives. I think we need to get together, and perhaps it's something that we need to do with the town as well, the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, the working group, to get together and pick one of those alternatives and really start that ball rolling.
I agree with you, but can we, since though we can't, cement that in stone, we can't cement it, can we be more flexible on
Yeah.
those?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think we
mean,
will, you're right.
The
I think
same
we
with,
will.
but
And we're in
I-
negotiations.
The same with
Yeah,
kindergarten as
collective
well.
bargaining, yeah.
Right? I mean, I think we need to get that rolling as well. If we're gonna have applications in for, what, a December decision?
Right. See, I saw this as, bless you, I saw this as just the general meetings, well, we're going to bring the regular business forward. We're going to need to have a series of special meetings about the whole comprehensive facilities assessment, the kindergarten planning. We're going to be in the middle of negotiations, so these would just be the dates that we could kind of plan our schedule around for like the votes that have to take place, but there's going to be additional meetings this summer. It's just, I don't think we have to lock into the Tuesday night.
Vacation in my mind looking at that.
The Tuesday night thing. But we'll be meeting more, I promise.
Okay.
Spouses all over the city.
Any further discussion?
None.
Otherwise, all in favor?
Aye.
Any abstention or negative vote? Unanimous. Okay.
Thank you. Yes, the next item on the agenda was the school committee liaison assignments. Do
Yeah.
you want to speak about this, or?
Yeah, well, what prompted my attention really was that John picked up Evelyn's schedule, and of course Evelyn took on as many things as she could. No, she obviously works very hard, and I didn't think that was fair to John, for one thing. And we haven't really taken a look at this for a while, so what I would suggest is that we just go down through each item, and if someone has a concern, would like to make a change. I have added in a couple of things. I added in Friends of Music, and we don't have to leave it there, but it seems funny that we have, so many, the boosters and alumni and everything else, and not Friends, seeing they're so active. So that was just a suggestion. And the other thing is, I've been talking with Don Van Dyne, and he wants, he's trying to get things going on that front. And I only put my name there because I told him I would be willing to do that, but obviously I'd be more than happy to have anyone else there. So I wanted to jump ahead and point those things out. And one of the things that you can think about as we go down through is that the school committee legislative liaison position, which Evelyn held, I'm not sure, I don't know if anyone wanted to do that, so.
Does that involve a lot of meetings and traveling?
Yeah.
I'll talk to Evelyn about it. I might take it on.
Okay. I don't know how much it is, but it is a valuable resource that she has provided for us. All right, let's just quickly go through down at the top. Administrators, Barbara and I are going with that contract. Unless somebody has a concern, I don't see any need to change that. Food service, I don't know if you were there in the original one, but we put, talking with Jay, thought that would be a good place to break in. Sal, I assume you want to stay there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, support people. Just trying to balance things out. I don't know, is that okay, Barbara?
Yeah.
Anybody else have a burning interest to be on that?
What was that one, Chairman?
Professional support personnel secretaries. It's a briefer involvement, probably. And obviously the big one, teachers and nurses, Sal and Mike. Is that okay?
Okay.
Well, I don't want to force anything on anybody. Okay. Policy, Barbara and I have been attending anyway, so okay. Superintendent review.
Oh, yeah, I want that one.
Yeah, okay.
That was a little aggressive there.
I don't know, maybe we should reconsider. Does anybody else have a burning desire to be there? Okay.
Been there, done that.
Maintenance, the three of us have been attending. Finance and budget, again, Mike and Sal, but is that all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm good with it, thank you.
Okay. Now, on the outside organizations, we generally have one with an alternate. I didn't push for that because to be honest, a lot of times it's a question who's available, and that's kind of the way we've dealt with it. I only put my name for Byam because I used to be there, but I don't have any problem with that. Well, we'll just go through as, yes.
The red ones were one you were proposing removing, so I like.
Oh, all right.
Colored in red, I just.
Yeah, okay, because it was, I didn't see it that way.
Sorry.
On the red, under the committee above, I took out recognition because anybody can do that. I mean, I think we put it there because I came up with a form which we don't use, so one of my great contributions. But, and hopefully people will feel free to do that. I think a lot of times, not purposefully, but we do miss some things, so. And the other one dropping down is Coalition Against Crime. I don't even know if it exists anymore. Does anyone know?
We've defeated it.
We've killed it?
We defeated crime, that's right.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, to be honest, it might come up again, because I think way back, we had when we had a problem with heroin ages ago. There were like five specific kids. I mean, it was that much. And there was a whole community uprising, and one of the Murray brothers was involved and so forth. But I don't, so it might come up again.
Yeah.
But right now, I don't think there's anything functioning. So I suggested deleting those, but we can always put them back in. All right. So, Byam, I guess we're okay. Center, is that still okay?
I very much enjoy Center, yes.
Okay. The alumni, I have to go anyway, but if you'd like to come, you're welcome to come anytime. Harrington, I was just trying to take one away from you, John, but if you want to stay there, you can stay there. I don't know.
Yeah, either way.
But I don't want to step on your toes. I mean, if you want to be there, I'm just trying to, you had a whole pile of things.
Take Harrington, you think?
No.
No? No, I don't want to take Harrington.
No, only because I think, your first year, you need to work balance. You need to really think about balance.
Okay.
So I think that maybe if you're going to take a light year, this would be the one.
Having done that, they're really well organized. They have a big turnout. That's a good experience.
I went to one of the meetings.
It's your
probably
school
saw.
anyway, right?
And my daughter goes to that school.
Oh, all
so
right,
that makes
then.
a lot of
That's
sense.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's 3 miles from
Barbara,
my
you
house.
okay with the high school?
Yeah.
And we already talked about. Mike, you're happy with McCarthy, right?
I am happy with McCarthy, but I would switch
I'll
with
switch
you
Parker
if you
with.
want to, or maybe we'll swap back and forth a
Okay,
little bit.
let's do that.
Um,
That'd be great. That would be great.
Barbara had spoken to me, and she'd just as soon
Yeah.
do something like that. Just leave it
McCarthy's
at that.
McCarthy's a good group of
Want me
people,
to
but
put-
it's
well,
good
We'll
to
just
Should we
tag
put on-
team. If you can make it,
Yeah,
we can both go,
exactly.
whatever. That's great.
Exactly.
So should we, just for the form, put you on?
Yeah, you can put,
Yeah.
leave it the way it is, or put us, yeah.
Well, if you're going to be in that relationship, we might as well acknowledge it.
Okay.
And then we'll do the same thing the other way with
Yeah.
Parker then,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Okay. Council of Schools,
I'll still go.
okay.
Do you mind me being an alternate on that? I like that meeting. That's the meeting I went
Council of
with.
Schools
Is that the one we went to?
at the library, at McCarthy Library.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah. I might like to go to some of those.
yeah, they're terrific. There's only 4 of them.
And you're going to do South Row?
Yep, I already been to one. It was
Very good. Sped Pack, do you do that?
They meet through a Yahoo group now. They don't
Oh.
really meet physically.
Yeah, you might consider taking that off. They don't have physical meetings.
I think it's just very difficult for them to get together for them.
Their feeling is that they'd rather not. My takeaway talking to Daniela, or I'm sorry, Gabriella, was that they don't necessarily want parents who don't have kids with diagnoses in the Yahoo groups. They feel like it's a support group for themselves, and so.
If at any point, they want us
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be there, we can be there. So if you hear any conversation, obviously we can change it, but for the time being, then we'll take it on. Chips, do you hear that
Yeah, I'd be
connection?
happy to continue with Chips.
Boosters, Sal, yeah?
Be happy to.
Business Association?
Be happy to.
One of the things I'll just tell you that, when I spoke with John Harrington, I guess he's retiring, but I told him that we'd be willing to come, I would be willing to come anytime. And so, I would encourage you to do the same thing, but they don't seem interested, so we'll find out. Okay, Selectmen, Barbara?
Yeah, I just watch
John?
them on
Yeah, I'm
review.
good.
It's just, it's not you don't have to go all the time or anything, it's just kind of following what's going on.
If you watch them, on telemedia, you'll get the gist.
Oh, no.
And then send them angry emails late at night.
Yes.
Yeah.
On Facebook, yell at them.
Does anyone have a connection with Friends of Music? I skipped over.
I have
We used
kind
to
of a
report at
tenuous
the
one.
Council of Schools, but they don't report it. We kind of took them off the agendas.
You know what? I'll reach out and see.
See if they want
Yeah,
somebody.
exactly.
Okay?
Okay.
So I'll just put, you're going to make the
Yeah,
contact.
I'll make the contact.
And then we can adjust it. Okay. So Selectmen we did. Finance Committee, Sal? Okay. Planning Board if needed. Have we ever, should we leave that there?
I've never attended one. They've never reached out to me.
You know what? It might be good to just to keep it there, just to remind ourselves that every now and then our interests intersect with them, and it's not even about like 129 rezoning, but sometimes work needs to be done, and it's good.
Well,
to,
what seems to be developing, as I see it, is with the new Harvey building in the center of town and sort of the reconfiguring of the center of town. I think there are going to be some meetings where it's going to go beyond tri-board, I think. At least that's the impression I've gotten. So we'll leave it there then. Recycling, have we done anything with that? It's a good committee then, John.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Take it. Run with it.
Now, what happens periodically, there is a concern about the schools participating in an active way, and so when that comes up, you can just tell them we'll do whatever they want, pretty much. Capital planning, Mike and Sal, is that still?
Yeah, I mean, I think
you guys have
mostly
some heavy things, which is fine, because you're both experienced and everything, but if it gets to be too much on any of these things, just let us know, and then Sal and I and turf, that's.
Is that still a going meeting, or is it coming back?
Yeah, I think at some point we're going to need to meet again, because there are questions about, for one thing, communication with Scott about how we're doing financially, and so we need to keep track of that. And it may be necessary, depending on what happens with the building situation, with Sal's talking about possibly doing something with McCarthy, and that may or may not involve the fields, and so I think we'll let it stand, and we've been involved along the way, so it's all right. Does anyone else want to be notified on economic development or replace me or anything?
When you say I'm not interested in replacing, but
You
I
want
could
to
support you.
participate? So,
Yes.
yeah. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I see him in church, and every week that I'm there. So something's going to go, I don't know what.
I went in front of them last week.
Yeah.
And he asked me to go in front of them.
Oh, good, all right. So that's easy. And then, in terms of our legislative outreach, we all need to stay involved, and we need to, I didn't ask Angie, we're just keeping him.
He's the best.
As long as he functions, he's with us.
That's right.
And he has that nice parking permit.
Yes, which is very important. And any second thoughts about anything that you would like to be involved with or to get out of? I think it was worth taking a moment just so everybody feels comfortable with things.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr.
If you want to give me those adjustments, I'll write them on
Yeah.
and I'll recirculate the list later. Right, thank you. The eighth item on the agenda this evening is the school committee policy review and updates.
Okay, there are no, go ahead, sorry, John.
Should we do a motion first? I think that's how you want to do it, right?
Well, yeah, let's do a motion, and then we can bring up all, Mike, I think, has a concern about something. So, yeah, let's do one, and then we can talk about the one and go on.
You could just do them all. Why don't you take them all as a group, and then we'll.
You want the motion as a group, and then do
we
you want to
can
go
walk
through them,
there's
just
a
noting the
couple
changes?
There's a couple of things.
Okay.
Okay,
So,
very good, here
let's
we
do a
go.
motion as the group. Do you want to do the motion?
Why don't you take the motion?
All right, I shall. I'd like to make a motion to approve the following changes to our policy manual, 6101, 6102.01, oh, they're double-sided. 6102, 6102.01, 6103, 6105, 6105.01, 6109, 6111, 6201, 6201.02, 6201.04, 6321. Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
For the
Open
most
for
part,
discussion.
for the most part, these policies are just cleanup policies. The first one, though, 6101, has to do with the age of a child entering kindergarten. So this change in policy moves the date that they have to be 5 years on or before October 1st. The new policy would be 5 years of age on or before August 31st. That starts with the 2017 academic year.
What was the motivation for the,
That was a recommendation from the superintendent.
oh, okay, that's,
Yeah, that was actually something that a lot of the kindergarten teachers had talked to me about since I've been here. Chelmsford is one of the only communities that actually had an October 1 starting date. The state has a whole list of every community and what the dates are, and everyone either has August 31st or September 1st as a starting date. We literally, like, are the only group that had October. And I think the thought process behind this was some of the kindergarten teachers do feel, maturity-wise, that even though it's only a month, that month can make a difference for enrollment purposes. And as we look to possibly the full day K, no one wanted to affect anyone for the coming school year that already had plans made. But as we look to a full day K and having the students be in the buildings a lot longer, they wanted to get in line with the rest of the state around the age requirements. So we've been talking about implementing full day K in 17. This wasn't going to have an effect at all, so we want to be very clear about that for the current school year coming. But starting in academic 17-18, that our date would reflect what everyone else in the state does, which is basically the August 31st date. And that was a request, almost across the board from every kindergarten teacher that I've talked to in the district since being here.
But you've left a little bit of a loophole there, where if a student goes to a private kindergarten and then can petition to join the first grade, even if they're born after August 31st, but before October 31st, right?
If they've completed
kindergarten. If they've completed kindergarten.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But they wouldn't be able to complete the kindergarten with the Chelmsford Public Schools. They'd have to go outside and...
Right. There's right, it'd be most likely a private situation or parochial school type situation, but if they've actually undergone a full year of kindergarten, then they could petition if they fell within that window. And that was pretty
for first grade. So there's some evidence that they're able to handle the day.
Right.
Yeah.
And that was pretty consistent, even in the other communities that had the August 31st or September 1st date, they had that provision that allowed some leniency.
Okay.
So we're really just kind of getting into line with everyone else.
Just to note, this would not take effect until 1 year from October.
It has no bearing at all on next year's enrollments, which have already been started.
There'll be next changes on student attendance areas. The word Chelmsford was inserted in front of school committee. Just Evelyn wants to make sure that's done. Okay, this is the 6102.01 is the modified open enrollment plan. No changes there. Just the revision date on the bottom.
But my question is,
yes.
Do we have an open enrollment plan? Because I was under the impression we did not have an open enrollment plan.
It's right here.
Yeah, well, that's a problem, isn't it? We don't let kids pick where they go to school.
Yeah, we used to have that superintendent discretion.
But we don't do that anymore.
No.
Well, okay. There's nothing stopping a parent in this policy from asking the superintendent, but it is up to you. You have the final discretion.
Does it say that?
That's what it reads like. Location?
No, it appears to
Big
say that
deception.
when in the opinion of the parents or legal guardian, such a move would best suit the needs of the individual child, that we're going to allow them to enroll in a different school.
exceptions, the superintendent is authorized to make an exception to this regulation under the following conditions. The location of the pupil's parents or legal guardian's residence is changed.
Yeah, I do receive, now, and this is something that I'm okay with. Like, we did receive, let's say, someone who is in the South Row neighborhood right now moved to the Harrington district.
Yep.
They would send me a letter asking if their student can finish South Row through June and then transfer to Harrington next year. With 6 or 8 weeks of school left, those I generally grant, and I allow them to finish the school year that they're in the current school, and then they just move to the school the next year. So I took that as an exception for changes that happened during the school year, like moves that happened during the school year.
Right. What the practice had been, if you had a daycare provider in the Harrington district instead of the Byham district, even if you lived in the Byham district, you could send your kid to Harrington. That's how people were using it.
That hasn't come my way yet.
Well,
That's because we told people they couldn't do it anymore. I mean, if you want to deal with that, that's fine.
Yeah.
But those are the kind of requests
Well, no,
you're
I
going to
actually
start
like,
getting.
I like the cut and dry, you go by your geography.
I understand you make an exception, at the end of a year or something. Although I guess I'd argue that you could do that anyway, even without a policy to support that. But
I think.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this just allows the parent to make the request, and then you make the determination. Because there's a lot of stipulations in here. There has to be an agreement with the administration about transportation, and
no, that's not what the first paragraph under purpose says.
with the opportunity to enroll outside of it says the word request. I don't know.
There's a whole clause under transportation.
Right.
They must stipulate in writing to the superintendent. They will be responsible for providing all necessary transportation for the particular pupil attending school outside.
Must be mutually agreed on.
It's a bit, you know what, I think you're probably going to have an argument or two a year about it, but
Yeah.
we have avoided it in the past. If you're in favor of it, then I'm good with it.
In all honesty, I don't know if I knew what I was in favor with. The policy that basically just allowed me, like, the exception rule to allow someone to do that seemed to make sense.
Yeah, but then I would say just strike the entire paragraph marked purpose.
Okay. We have a motion, a second. Discussion is now leading to modifying policy 6102.01.
So I'd make a motion, I guess, to amend the original motion to include striking purpose from 610201.
I agree with you with regard to that purpose statement being the parent legal guardian, having the rationale. There could be another situation, you could have a bullying type situation where the district determines that a student needs to be moved from one school to another, but we would be the one initiating that call as opposed to it being initiated by the parent. I don't think this would preclude that.
No, I don't
But
think
that
so
would be
either.
the other issue where we would necessarily have to move someone from one school to another.
There's a second to Michael's amendment. Any further discussion on the amendment?
None.
Hearing none. All in favor of the amendment which strikes the purpose clause from this, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition or abstention? None. Unanimous.
Okay. Next is the non-discrimination, equal education opportunities. We included the language that has been updated by Massachusetts general law to include gender identity or sexual orientation. Okay, 6105, just changed the bottom to update the date. 6105.01, striking the bullet, students whose parents present evidence of an intent to move into the town may attend Chelmsford Public Schools. Intent is not enough. We want them to show evidence that they have made the move to Chelmsford by showing us a purchase and sale agreement or something to that effect.
I just have a question about that, where it says joint legal custody of a child where one parent resides in Chelmsford is insufficient to establish a proof of residency. an ownership of taxable residential property in Chelmsford is insufficient to establish proof of residency. What are you looking for in addition to that?
No, it's basically, and this actually has come up a couple of times this year, it's going to boil down to where the child actually sleeps at night and where they reside. And a parent can't own just either a commercial piece of property or like a condo that they don't live in and rent it out in Chelmsford just to maintain that address to send their student here.
Okay.
The child physically has to be living and sleeping in Chelmsford to be able to enroll here.
Okay.
The issue on the first one that was striking the intent, this came up a couple of times. People will come in with a purchase and sales agreement that is for 2, 3, 4 months out, that ultimately never gets executed, and we then have to go track them down and figure out if they really came or didn't come. So you really do need to be living here.
Right.
I understood why that probably was in the past, but that has been problematic in a couple of cases.
6109 was just to change the heading of this from school/class early dismissal, rather than, it just got confusing, so we just changed the title of it. Nothing was changed with respect to the
But
wording.
I do think we should strike the phrase that says see the regulations manual, since there is no regulations manual to
Okay.
see.
So we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to strike the word see the regulations manual in 6109.
Second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion to amend, striking reference to the regulations manual, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstention? None, unanimous.
6111, student absences, excuses, truancy, again inserting the word Chelmsford in front of school committee. 6102, same thing, inserting the word Chelmsford in front of school committee. 6201, sorry. 6201.02, taking out the paragraph that says smoking cessation programs at school department expense will be offered to staff students on a periodic basis. Not sure why we did that, but
We don't offer them.
we don't offer them?
yeah.
It was
Oh,
ju-
okay. Non-existent.
Yeah, they don't occur. I don't know when, it had been in the policy since 2005, but no one could actually find us offering a smoking cessation program, so we figured, we may as well just take that out.
Okay. 6201.04, dangerous weapons in school. We still do not allow them. It was just reviewed and revised.
Told Evelyn she couldn't.
No change to policy.
No change to policy. 6321, education of pregnant and/or parenting students. Last sentence in the second paragraph added, after giving birth, a student may return to the same academic and extracurricular program as before the leave.
Presumably, that's at the discretion
Of the doctor,
both the student and
the
whoever's-
physician.
who's ever teaching. I'm thinking of a situation where if you're out for 12 weeks, you've lost class time. I mean,
Yeah, this,
we give them the opportunity to come back, right?
right.
But
This is actually specific language that Carol had requested we put
Okay.
in. It's necessary for the coordinated program review. That basically just indicates a child can go back to the same program. As long as they've met the milestones and
Yeah.
they've kept up, they can go back into the same classes as they were. They don't have to kind of re-enroll or go through a new course selections, things like that. But it's specifically required for the coordinated program review.
all right.
That is all.
The original motion,
The original motion and revised,
As amended, yeah.
as revised, yeah, amended.
all right. So we're voting on the packet with the language that's here, plus the amendments that were passed. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition or abstention? None, unanimous. Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And the last item on the evening tonight was the approval of out-of-state and overnight conferences. I had put that on as a placeholder, just because we didn't have any through last week, but I know it's the end of the year. I wanted to, in case someone came in, but no one came in. So we actually have no action on that item.
My favorite kind of item.
Any liaison reports?
I just want to thank the South Row PTO for a wonderful luncheon for staff appreciation and for including us.
And I'd like to thank them for my goodie bag.
They are-
Even though I didn't go to the lunch, and that was very thoughtful.
It was
of them.
really good.
It was
Yeah.
a fun time. They put a lot of time and energy into the preparation for it, too. Anything else? All right, any items that we've been carrying over that we haven't finished? I think we've been doing pretty well. Anything from this meeting we need to carry over?
We're waiting to hear
The legal opinion.
legal opinion.
And perhaps addressing the town on the union's concern about
Yeah, we're gonna have to
school
do something
temperature.
about that.
I think it has to be noted that
I
we're
think
getting
one
frustrated.
of the things that, and Ben touched on it, is that the classroom temperatures are not necessarily what's being
Reported on the motherboard.
showing
the
up on the
circuit.
at the source, and if it's showing up as 68, it's not going to trigger any kind of intervention. So we have to figure out. That's not to say Ben's wrong, right? I mean, it's a certain temperature in the classroom, and if the reading's not right, we have to figure out a way to get the reading to reflect reality better.
Because that didn't show on the charts that we got, did it?
No. Well, not that I've seen, although I haven't seen recent
The
numbers.
complaints show on the chart, but the response doesn't necessarily solve the
Solve the
complaint.
problem.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Well, I suspect that was what the fan was about. They're trying to mix the room air a little bit better, but if it's cold air, then yeah, you're just reducing the boundary layer, and it actually feels colder rather than warmer.
This this is something that we're working on. This has been an issue, ongoing throughout the fall. I think, and I know people have heard the explanation before, but originally when the new control system was put in place, anytime you do that, there's going to be some level of time that's required to balance the system and really have it be all working properly. Even once that happens, you do run into situations where something will just physically break, as opposed to having it be a bad temperature that gets thrown out of the system. So in the particular instance Ben was talking about, the teacher had reported a couple of days of low temps, and originally on the computer, it appeared to just be like a bad temperature reading coming in, not that there was actually an equipment failure. So because there were a couple bad temps, they weren't getting a correct reading. DPW did send one of the vendors out to do an assessment, and they determined that, no, there was a physical mechanical hardware failure. That had to be fixed. So there was some lag time in getting that resolved. When that was realized, DPW did send the vendor right out. They didn't even try to fix it themselves. They sent someone out. So that was, responsive, and that corrected the issue. The biggest complaint that we, continue to hear is the variability in the temperature from room to room based on where you actually take the temperature. And if the thermostat is reading the room temp is like right next to the door when you walk in the room, that's a different temperature than all the way on the other side of the room, particularly with that outside air handler unit. And it's where those vents didn't work previously in some schools. Now they are calling for outside air to come in. They're trying to temper the air so that it's at a higher temp. It's just taking a very long time to try to fix. There's no way for them to shut off the outside air coming in. Even though it didn't work in the past, you can't really intentionally shut it off. You are supposed to bring in outside fresh air into the building so people don't get sick. But the outside air should come in at a little bit higher temp than it is coming in, and that's still a regulation issue. I do think, that the town certainly takes this seriously. I know they're trying to resolve these issues. I think it's probably an issue of some limited manpower. Obviously, still working the kinks out of the system, because I don't think all the kinks are out yet. And then having some of these issues where things are actually mechanical as opposed to just a bad temp reading, those are still issues they're working through. I have, met with Ben and several representatives from the union to talk about this. I'm doing some data gathering now about just frequency of complaints, where they were coming in from, so that we can kind of take this off season to run some analysis on things, and try to be in a better position by October when the heating season starts up again. So it's not that this isn't being addressed or people don't take it seriously. I think there's certainly just a frustration level, because this has been, and I can understand that, because this has been going on for so long. But we are trying to actually work on this and make some improvement.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, that it has been a little while now, and at some point, I think Johnson Controls has a responsibility to provide us with what they sold us, which was temperature control. The other thing that Ben said that I wanted to get some feedback on, School Dude is no longer the appropriate mechanism for reporting this?
Honestly, that was news to me. I don't know.
School Dude is the appropriate mechanism. If there is a more timely matter, they would like a phone call in addition to School Dude.
So if you have
So but they should send it in through School Dude.
Correct.
Always. And
Yes.
if there's a time factor, they should also call it in. But it's School Dude that is documenting the request, so it's important to get it in there as well.
Correct.
And who are they calling? Are they calling?
DPW.
Okay, so they're not just calling the school secretary who handles the School Dude. They're calling.
School
the-
secretary would be the one to reach out.
Okay, okay.
The teacher would report it to the secretary or, say, the custodian, who would log it into School Dude.
Yes.
And then, but if it's an emergency or something that's just not being repaired, then someone at that school, the secretary, principal, whoever, would call over to Kathleen and the energy monitor directly to say, in addition to putting the ticket in, this is kind of a crisis that needs to be looked at immediately.
Is there a way we can involve our new school employee custodial staff?
We will, as
Go
soon
down
as-
to
as soon as
classrooms
they
and
get
say,
on-
yeah,
on
it is
board.
cold.
Yeah, as soon as they
Okay.
get on board, because they'll actually be entering tickets and
Right.
managing that as well. So yes, I mean, that'll be another
That'll be a
layer
huge
of,
improvement. Because I think part of it is, they don't think anyone is listening. They don't feel validated because no one gets in their vehicle and rushes over.
Right.
And it's frustrating.
Right. I will say, I mean, and even that particular day when I called over, they were very responsive. And I do think, hopefully they would have gone for anyone that called over. But, as soon as we made the call, they went over and tried to fix it. And they didn't fool around. They brought a third party in and actually made the repair, which I'm sure was costly, and tried to adjust it. So.
Okay.
And I think this is a good item to talk about on those monthly meetings when we're looking
Yeah.
at schools,
Yeah.
just to keep it kind of front and center, because as good as things are now with the weather heating up,
Right.
I don't want to be in October and then starting to recreate everything and come up with fixes at that point. So
We have a policy meeting Thursday.
Thursday morning at 8:30.
Okay. Anybody that doesn't have anything to do would like to join us, that'd be fine.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Anything else? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or negative? No. Unanimous.
You didn't even give me a chance to ask any questions on that one.
It's like the Nevada caucuses.
Well, it's too late, Michael.
Hearing none.